Welcome to the Legends Behind the Craft podcast, where we feature top leaders in the wine and craft beverage industry with your host, Drew Hendricks. Now, let's get started with the show.
Drew Thomas Hendricks here. I'm the host of the Legends Behind the Craft podcast, where I talk with leaders in the wine and craft beverage industry. Past guests of Legends Behind the Craft include John Cochis of Beck Family Estates, Barry Waite of Tamber Bay, and Matt Brain, winemaker of Alpha Omega. If you haven't listened to these yet, be sure to check them out and subscribe. Today's episode is sponsored by Barrels Ahead. Barrels Ahead, we work with you to implement a one-of-a-kind marketing strategy, one that highlights your authenticity, tells your story, and connects you with your ideal customers. In short, we help wineries and craft beverage producers unlock their story to unleash their revenue. Go to barrelsahead.com today to learn more. Today I have Bianca Harmon's also joining us. Bianca's a direct-to-consumer marketing strategist at Barrels Ahead. If you want to level up your direct-to-consumer game, give her a call. How's it going, Bianca?
It's good. Thanks, Drew, for having me. Excited to talk to the legends behind Staglin Family Winery.
Yes, we do have two legends today. Today's guests are Shari and Garen Staglin of Staglin Family Vineyards. Their business is founded on the motto, great wines for great causes. Since they began farming their vineyard in 1985, they've donated and raised more than $1 billion to support charities, including their main cause, One Mind, that has a vision of healthy brains for all. Welcome to the show, Shari and Garen.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for being on. Before we jump into all the great work you've done, I got to ask, how'd you guys meet?
We met in 1964 in a blind date when we were both students at UCLA.
And she was from a family in South Dakota, and I came from an Italian family.
We drank milk.
And we drank wine. So it was an easy upgrade for her to come into this side of the thing. Yeah.
I learned everything I knew about wine from Darren's family in the beginning. And his dad would take us for wine tastings down in Temecula or up to Napa Valley, even occasionally from Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah. Temecula was just starting out back then.
Yeah.
Sure.
We visited with Ely Callaway himself and his wife, Nancy, where they were making a botrytis wine called Sweet Nancy. But that window has got two top, and then there was the glassy wing sharpshooter, and then he left and started making golf clubs, and we never saw him again. So
the first time we ever came to Napa Valley was 1966, when Aaron was in his first year of Stanford Business School. And I would fly up to visit him for the weekend, and we would drive up to Napa Valley because it was a beautiful drive, and because it was free to do wine tastings then, and there were only 6 wineries along the highway then. And I'll bet you can you name them?
Heights, Behringer.
Heights wasn't here.
No,
Behringer was.
Again. Inglenook.
TV.
Inglenook TV. Yeah, you're right.
3.
You said Behringer's.
Davi.
No.
Just being under construction.
Oh.
It's not here anymore.
Previously, when Davi had come from this place, Charles Krug.
Yeah, you got Krug. Yeah.
Oh, did you say that?
Yes.
What is that? And then one isn't a winery anymore. It's the Culinary Institute.
Yes.
Christian Brothers.
Christian Brothers.
And then one more. Right on the highway.
It's also changed names.
Louis Martini.
Yes.
Oh, I meant to say Louis Martini and I forgot.
Yeah.
My mind's not working.
Yeah.
It's okay. Yours isn't the only one.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, times were way different back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, we fell in love with the place. We said someday this is one of the great places on the planet.
I think we were here when we ended up deciding to get married.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
So we said, let's not be too old to enjoy it. But all we had was student loans.
We had this idea to come back and do a wine, vineyard.
We had student loans and a lot of ambition. I had to go to Vietnam. So the vineyard thing had to wait a while. But after returning from New York and selling a company in 1983, we finally had the ability and resources to start looking and purchase this historic vineyard in 1985.
And what an incredible property that you were able to get. That was how did How did that come about? Did you just see that one and knew it, or were you?
We put an offer in on that, but somebody out underbid us.
Mhm.
Then we put an offer in on one in the Central Valley, which is just off of Rutherford Crossroads, and somebody else outbid us.
Mm.
And then we came across this one, which was not for sale, but we were told that we might be able to talk the owners into selling it because their children were no longer interested. They were fourth generation. And they were the great grandchildren of George de Latour, who started BV. And we did talk the great granddaughter into selling it to us. Her name was Dagmar de Pan Sullivan. And so we convinced them to sell it to us. And then 2 years later, they sold us the hillside that is connected with it.
Oh, wow. And when you first started, was there a winery operating on that?
No, it was a fully producing vineyard, 50 acres of vines, 10 acres of Chardonnay, 40 acres of Cabernet. But immediately the Chardonnay got phylloxera and we had to take it out. And Garen was always going to do this business, but then he had to start another business to get enough money so we could replant. Because we plunked down all the money on the vineyard, then we had to replant. So I've always put the business together and kind of looked after the wine business.
And now our daughter's Shari's still the CEO, our daughter's the president.
And it's still only one vineyard, and that's why we just call it Staglin Family Vineyard.
So Staglin Family Vineyard is actually one continuous vineyard. And it's all...
we have, it's one contiguous vineyard, but as Shari mentioned, we started replanting right after we bought the vineyard because of phylloxera, which 80% of the valley was planted on AXR1. So it's right around that time that we discovered it. And so to protect ourselves against that ever happening again, we committed we'd never plant a single rootstock. We plant multiple rootstocks, none of them to get close to each other. And we would also then diversify the clonal selections to give us more flavor and complexity, all on the same vineyard, now completely organically farmed. So as a result, we have 26 different blocks of Cabernet with a different clone rootstock combination, and 7 blocks of Chardonnay, and 3 blocks of Cab Franc, one of Petit Verdot and one of Sangiovese. Frederick Johansson and our winemaking consultant, Michelle Roland, we used that team along with David Avery, our farmer, since the first day to sort of make the best selection of the vineyard, which is what Staglin Family Vineyard is. That's about 50% of the fruit for both the Cabernet and the Chardonnay. And then we reblend for our second blend, not trying to make a cheaper wine as a second blend, which many wineries do. But we use that second blend, which is called Seleuce, who's the goddess of health and well-being, to help us tell the story of our commitment to brain health and mental health.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Please say salute or salute to your health. Seleuce is the Latin derivative.
Oh, interesting. I did not know that. I was an ancient Greek major. I didn't take Latin.
Well, that's good though.
Yeah, eight semesters of Attic Greek leads you into the wine industry. Yeah,
I was going to say, you don't have. There's not a lot of use for that, right? There's not many signs in Greek.
I graduate with a degree of philosophy in Attic Greek. What are you going to do other than teach? So great wines for great causes. You've got the great wine, and you're to the mind. Talk to me about an incredible amount of philanthropy. $1 billion, and is this a B, not an M?
Yeah.
Whatever the nonprofit is. And so we'll put together an auction lot that should be a big draw. And that's part of the way that we've raised funds. We've also been parts of committees that have raised money for different organizations and universities that we're affiliated with. So, but, through the music festival itself and other nonprofit fundraising we've done for One Mind, we've done a lot of wine and brain health dinners around the country. We've raised over $530 million now. And all of it goes to research or public education.
Oh, wow. All going to brain health. Now talk to me, why brain health?
because when our son was 18, which was in 1990, he had a psychotic break. And it was a huge shock to us. We didn't know what was wrong, what happened. Nobody ever talked about mental health then. And if you did, it was always the parents' fault that they had done something to, be a bad parent. And the first thing we needed to do to help Brandon was, and even though we tried to find the right psychiatrist, was to find the right person to train Garen and I to educate us that these diseases are genetically predispositioned, and then something in the environment will trigger them. The causes are not known well, but for sure we know stress is a trigger. So then we set about doing everything we could to help him get better. And, it was slow, but eventually he did. And he's great today.
Right.
Married, owns a home, works full time, president of our nonprofit, goes off and makes speeches everywhere. He's doing fabulous.
He's a symbol of hope. And all of our work is around that. We're in the hope business, really, because the science really creates the real prospect that we eventually will cure these illnesses. And then it leads people to be more open to talk about their own condition, because everybody has somebody with a brain condition, between autism all the way up to Alzheimer's now. A friend, family member, neighbor, work colleague. So we just need to be more open, talk about it. It's okay not to be okay. It's just not okay not to do something about it. And we're pushing that everywhere and everywhere. There you go. Yeah. Good.
There you go. It's a topic very near and dear to my heart. I've been diagnosed since I was 18 with bipolar. So I've been constantly in maintenance mode trying to control that. But your initiatives are very important to me.
That's great. Well,
that's good.
Congratulations, and keep up the good work, because I know that you have to work at that every day.
Yeah.
It's well, at 50, I'm hopefully now I've figured out how to keep going with it, and I understand what needs to be done. But so getting that word out is so important.
Yeah.
Understanding, and back in 1985, and especially if it was your first son at 18, it was just a surprise. What's going on?
Yeah, absolutely.
I had grown up with a mother with bipolar disorder and addiction. So, and it is genetically predisposed, but it doesn't necessarily come through hereditary. It comes through also just a
triggers, stress, environmental triggers.
Yeah, but that's what the trigger is. But I'm trying to think. It can be a random mutation of a gene that causes it.
And their charities. So tell me a little bit more about One Mind and the work that you've been doing.
1995, we started it.
Right. It's a three-pronged strategy, Drew. We work in accelerating science, which is we've funded 45 rising star scientists, so we can help people launch careers that have cutting-edge ideas, but might be too risky for the National Institute of Health to fund. So we give them their seed capital. I'm still in the venture capital and private equity business. So we kind of think ourselves as the venture philanthropists of mental health. They've gone on to do spectacular things. In fact, the head of the National Institute of Mental Health was one of our rising stars 10 years ago, to give you an idea. We've developed over 100 biomarkers. We have new treatments and therapies underway. We've actually now have, in the case of Brandon's illness and schizophrenia, and we're working on bipolar, we actually have a 70% probability of detecting a kid at risk for these illnesses. And we can intervene early, change their life course, de-stress their lives, and get the appropriate psychopharmacology going with them. And many people don't ever convert if they follow this program.
40 some years ago, was a co-author of the Affordable Care Act with President Obama. And he had his pictures taken. He was right beside the president when he signed the bill, which was fantastic. Another one of our projects called Naples, the North American Prodromal.
70% probability.
That's right. Okay. Right. Another one that we're involved in now, AMP, Accelerating Medicines in Psychosis. For psychosis is a public-private coalition of organizations working together to find new ways to use the information found in genetic studies to create new medicines, to target the appropriate area of the brain.
So that's the science. We also do services, which is where we're translating Ms. Naples' work into early detection, and then society. Two big projects there, Drew and Bianca. One is in the media side. We convinced Ken Burns to do a series of documentaries with us, and the first one is coming out in June,
called Hiding in Plain Sight: Youth Crisis in America.
Yeah, and it's a 4-hour, two 2-hour segments on June 27 and 28. And we just got confirmation that
from the White House
that Dr. Biden will be previewing that documentary with us
on the 22nd of June
and serving our Salus wines at that reception. So we're excited about that.
Wow.
And then the other big work we do in society is we built a global coalition of employers called One Mind at Work, where we're helping organizations change their culture so that people that are on the brain health spectrum, which we all are, can not feel ashamed or in somehow marginalized by coming forward and getting the treatments that are available through the EAP programs or other counseling services that are there. That whole thing comes out of this word of stigma, and we're trying to eradicate that. And we now have close to 8 million employees around the world now covered under this charter. And our goal is to get to 25 million by 2025. So in the spirit of doing things big, we're on a big march to make that happen.
That's incredible.
And he's doing fabulous since 2011. And is married and has had 4 children since then, and is very active in helping us weave our way through the different governmental entities to get things done.
That's so great that you have with the winery serving such a big platform for that. And I love that. I hadn't heard that term, venture philanthropist.
Yes. Yeah.
The vineyard is such a beautiful place. You must come visit us. That this was the ideal place. We thought of this in 1994, running around the vineyard with our Jack Russell Terriers. That we had been in Birmingham, Alabama for a wine auction, and we were one of the vintner hosts, and we did a dinner with Charlie Trotter as the chef, and we were the winery. And so we were together working in the kitchen, getting things ready. We were all serving, and that's how we met Charlie. And I said, and we worked with him the next year too. And I said, you got to come to our place. Just built a newish house, and you should come and do us a dinner. And he said, well, I will. If you want to do it for charity, I'll do it for nothing. So then we started thinking about it, and our friend brought over her new boyfriend from New York, who was a conductor. And he said, this is the most beautiful place. You should have a music festival here. I just produced one on Shelter Island for one of the nonprofits there. And I said, oh, I'm so busy, getting this wine business started. There's no way I could do that. He said, well, I'll produce it for you. So we put 2 and 2 together, and Charlie came out to do the dinner. And, all of our vintner friends in the neighborhood brought their wines, and it was just a wonderful, and we got the San Francisco Ballet Orchestra, because they were out of season, to come and perform under the conduct of Richard Williams, the conductor. So that was our first kind of put together music festival at the Vineyard in 1995. And Garen and I did all the work. We went and got the ice over at Ophel Grocery. We got all the chairs set out. We, directed the tent canopy. We did everything ourselves, getting the garbage cans out, everything, and then going around and cleaning up afterwards.
Oh man.
So,
that was the first.
We have a team of volunteers, and we have the most sought after wines because everybody has somebody. Every family is touched one way or another by brain illness. So people we asked to pour, nobody has ever said no.
Oh, that's incredible. How many people are represented right now?
In the wineries?
Well, no, in this season coming up, like seeing how it's grown from 95.
I mean, the number of people.
We don't increase the number of people, just increase the price.
The money.
Oh, okay.
500 people come for that.
Yeah, not so much the growth of but the price.
Yeah, the concert, and because it's the intimacy of that event. Last year was One Republic, and you're up on the stage with them and Jennifer Hudson and Sheryl Crow. These are the kinds of people now that come and perform here for us.
One year we had, who was the guy, the Beach Boys?
Brian Wilson.
Yeah, we had Brian Wilson.
Did you?
Yeah.
He did it for nothing. And so did Tim McGraw. They both did it for nothing.
Oh, awesome. Such a good cause. And that goes to the One Mind charity?
That goes to One Mind. That's all the unrestricted funding that helps fund those Rising Star Awards and many of those other programs that I mentioned to you that are underway here.
Oh, that's incredible. How did, I guess I got to ask, how did, when we were in the pandemic, did you still host did you do a virtual?
We did a combination, but mostly virtual, yeah.
2020, it was, we have a strong partnership with Del Frisco's for our wine, and every Del Frisco's in the country, in their private rooms, we live streamed a jazz concert, and everyone had the same menu with our wines, and so we basically took it out to the road, basically. Would you say that?
And they charged $2,500 a person.
And then 2021,
and then we did a Zoom funding with a lot of our friends at home, and we raised $3 million that year.
Yeah.
It was incredible, shocking.
2021, we were mostly here with as I said, with One Republic, but we also did a virtual event where people who can't get here can still contribute. So we distributed sort of our opportunity to interact with people more directly. And we're coming up with, for this year, we haven't fully set on the ideas of how we're going to do all this, but always thinking, always trying to put more, and more people are reaching out to us wanting to do events in their hometown or city and help us through this kind of the equivalent of, you guys are probably too young to remember what Tupperware parties were, but people would host them.
I remember Pampered Chef.
Yeah, so this is the idea. So we can let people help us within their own way in their own homes or in their own city.
I love the idea of doing that hybrid where you have the big ticket in person, but you still keep those kind of micro parties across the country that can still participate in it.
Yeah, that's what we're perfecting that model.
We are, yeah, we are.
I'm always curious to hear the silver linings that come out of this pandemic and what kind of forced people to change and evolve to the next level.
Yeah, and Patrick Kennedy has said, another option that we'd probably do this year, it would be like the East Coast equivalent, would be a Hyannisport. So, because a lot of people want to go there because
it can't be compound. So that may be in a different day, and we'll see how that goes. So we're going to experiment with comedy. Howie Mandel has a stated purpose of helping us in this cause. So we're going to do an event called "It's No Joke" and how to deal with mental health, and he's going to be the lead comedy act for that. And we're talking with major television to perhaps produce it much like the comedy shows of the past. So we've got a couple more comedians who are thinking about joining us. So stay tuned for that.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
I like that. And I think comedy is a good direction. I mean, it really helps explain the reality, and people can laugh and actually show emotion.
Goes with the hope side, right? Let's keep it on the up. Let's focus on brain fitness and the discoveries and the things we can do together to make it better.
So on the shifting back, so the way with the winery and you've got the charities, where do you see Staglin growing beyond? We've got the comedy and new events, but paint me a picture of the next 10 years for Staglin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, we will undoubtedly expand the Salus brand, the Salus label, by purchasing grapes from other vineyards. And we had started doing that, but then during the pandemic we shut down because we didn't know where sales were going. And but now we're starting up again. So that's what my daughter's plans are. And she is the president of the wine business.
Oh, okay. And that's a great I mean, from what you explained with Salus, with the brain, it's such a great label to have your I don't want to say foot in the door, but really start get the message out.
It tells that whole story on the back label.
And we like restaurants to serve it by the glass, so that each time it's served, they can tell the story.
Mm-hmm.
One time at Del Frisco's in New York, when we first came out with Salus, the Somm was serving it to the head of the, it was Tom Insel was the director of the National Institute for Mental Health, and a senator who had a bill on mental health. Mm. And she didn't know who they were, but they ordered Salus wine because they knew it was ours. And she came to the table and told them the story behind it. And they just got the biggest kick out of it because she had no idea who they were. And they didn't know that we were making a wine that the money went to mental health for. Mm. And so it was, and they took a picture. They all got their picture together. It was great.
Oh, it's so fantastic.
Oh, good. Yeah. So our Drew and Bianca, our motto, the great wine for great causes, it has inherently in it this concept of quality and the exclusivity of the work that we do and the wines that we produce. So we've never tried to make more wine. We've just tried to make the best wine possible from this estate. You've heard the term typicity, the terroir of this place and its long history. It was actually first planted in 1864. We don't know if it's the oldest vineyard in Napa, but we certainly know it's one of them. It certainly is one of. John and Mary Stechter came from Missouri. And at that time, Missouri was the second most important wine growing state in the country behind New York in 1864. So there's a little fun fact for you.
And they planted 60 acres right around a house that is now our visitor center, which we completely restored.
Yeah. So it's that same vineyard that we're now farming with all the modern techniques and trellising systems and the winery that we built underground. So we do have more capacity, but we're always going to be committed to quality over quantity.
That's smart.
Yeah.
I mean, it's because with that brand, that quality of the brand is what really enables you to have these like high profile events.
Yes.
Have these foundations that are world class.
Yeah, it does. It's a bedrock of what we do. And it is, our brand is our reputation and would never compromise the quality. Well, and that's why our vineyard is more than 75% direct sales, because people every year will purchase our wines because they know we have this commitment to quality.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So 75% directly to the consumer.
Yeah.
And then the rest to restaurants and a few retail stores. Back in the day in 93, I was selling wine and we got a small allocation.
Yeah.
What were you selling?
Yeah.
It was when I started in 93, it was called Mr. Liquor over on Terraville Street. And we changed the name to San Francisco Wine Trading Company.
Okay.
Marcoletti still owns it and runs it with his wife, Julia.
Well, I must have sold this to you because I was the only salesman then.
Really? Yeah, I was there. I was looking I was a little different a little while ago. But yeah, I was there in 93,
we were owners of a restaurant called the Cypress Club in San Francisco. That was, what street was that on?
Well, it was right around the San Francisco Pyramid.
Yeah.
It was on Jackson Street.
I remember that. Yeah.
Right, Jackson and Broadway is where it was. But so that there is our daughter Shannon, along with our winemaker, they're doing a very small Pinot project and a very small Syrah project.
They call it Resa, R-E-S-A, which in Swedish means journey. Mm-hmm. Our winemaker is his family, his parents are Swedish, and he was born in Connecticut, but he's Swedish American. Frederick Johansson.
Oh, that's incredible. Is the Pinot coming from the estate grapes?
No, it's coming from the Sonoma coast.
Oh, okay. Oh, that sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, when we purchase Salus grapes, we get our Chardonnay from Carneros and mostly Rutherford for our Cabernet.
Gosh, it's so fascinating. It's such a treat to discuss mental health and to discuss all the good work that you've done and how so tightly integrated it is. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you'd like to bring up as we kind of come to the end of this episode?
I think it's important to know that red wine is good for your brain.
Yes.
In moderation.
Right.
You can ask any psychiatrist or any scientist, any neuroscientist. And I learned that from a neuroscientist, neurosurgeon at UCLA, because we were serving our Salus wines at the Chancellor's for a reception one evening. And he came over to me and he said, Shari, you should be drinking your red wine. I was like, but I like Chardonnay. He said, here's why you should drink the red wine. I said, I want you to send me all your studies on that. So he did. And of course, I couldn't understand even half of them. But basically, it's the same resveratrol that's in blueberries.
Mm-hmm. I remember. Yeah, that is important to moderation.
Just our website is staglinfamily.com and the nonprofit is onemind.org. We'd love to have your listeners visit those sites so you can learn more about what we're doing. And if you want to help us as a nonprofit, we drive all this through the donations of generosity of many. So the money we raise comes from the hearts and pocketbooks of those people who want to help us with this cause. And we're a 5-star. Neither of us take any salary. We pay all of our own expenses and pay a lot of the expenses of the charity. So 90+ cents of every dollar that's donated goes to the cause. We don't spend money on too many nonprofits. They hold a big gala and only half the money or less ever gets to the charity. That's not who we are. Highly efficacious, and we'd love to have anyone's support here.
I'm glad you pointed that out. That is truly a worthy cause.
Yeah.
Truly a worthy cause. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for having us on and letting us tell our story.
We really
It's
appreciate
been a
it.
treat. I'm next time in Napa, I'm definitely got to visit.
Please do.
Please do. We'd love to have you.
Thank you, guys. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Legends Behind the Craft podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.